Diocese of Ballarat was received into evidence. Ryan has been convicted of 3 charges of indecent assault against 1 victim. The second public hearing was primarily concerned with the knowledge of the bishop and priests in the Diocese of Ballarat of allegations of child sexual abuse by Catholic clergy and religious. That hearing also examined the response of the diocese to such allegations, including the movement of offending priests from one parish to another. 8 current and former priests in the diocese gave evidence. In that hearing, the Royal Commission also heard evidence about the response of the Diocese of Ballarat and Victoria Police to complaints against Monsignor John Day, a priest in the Diocese of Ballarat in Mildura in the early 1970s. The Royal Commission heard evidence from 2 witnesses who were former officers of Victoria Police, one of whom was Chief Commissioner from 1977 until 1987. The focus of this, the third public hearing, will be on the response of the Christian Brothers in Victoria to allegations of child sexual abuse made in relation to 6 brothers, all of whom spent time working at schools in the diocese. The Royal Commission will also hear further evidence about the response of the Diocese of Ballarat to allegations of child sexual abuse by Catholic clergy and religious in this hearing. There will be evidence about Bishop Mulkern's referral of priests to psychologists and other treatment providers following complaints of child sexual abuse. The Royal Commission will hear evidence from Peter Evans, a former priest psychiatrist, Dan Torpey, a former priest psychologist, and the former Bishop of Ballarat, Ronald McKearns, will give evidence. I will say more later about the expected evidence. Next week, the Royal Commission will hear evidence via video link from Cardinal Pell. That evidence will be in relation to this case study, as well as case study 35, the Catholic Archdiocese of Melbourne. I'll say more about Cardinal Pell's expected evidence, and Your Honour has indicated the arrangements to date in Rome. If any party with leave is of the view that evidence from a particular witness or a document should be heard or tendered, the process set out in the practice guidelines should be followed. That is, I should be approached with a copy of the document or statement, unless for reasons stated that's impractical. And unless completely irrelevant, it's likely that the witness will be called or the document tendered. Any submission ultimately made about a particular witness or document not being called or in evidence will be considered in light of the practice guideline. There will be a submissions process for both case studies following the completion of the evidence, and the dates for those processes will be announced soon. Now, turning to the congregation of the Christian Brothers. The Christian Brothers is a Catholic religious order. From 1967 until 2007, the Christian Brothers in Australia were organised into 4 provinces. Since 2007, the Christian Brothers in Australia have formed part of the Oceania province, which also comprises New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Timor-Leste and the Philippines. In the first part of this case study, the Royal Commission heard evidence from Brother Peter Clinch, the current provincial of the province. The Christian Brothers have been the subject of a previous case study, number 11, which considered the response of the brothers to allegations of sexual abuse that occurred between 1947 and 1968 at 4 residential childcare institutions operated by the Christian Brothers in the Western Australian province. This public hearing concerns the response of the brothers to allegations of child sexual abuse at institutions in St Patrick's province, which from 1967 until 2007 comprised Victoria and Tasmania. A focus of this hearing is on knowledge in institutions in the geographical boundaries of the Diocese of Ballarat. The Royal Commission has conducted a data survey of all Catholic Church authorities in Australia including the Christian Brothers. The data which will be presented in this hearing relates to claims of child sexual abuse or complaints of child sexual abuse that were subsequently substantiated, that have been received by any Catholic Church authority during the period 1 January 1980 to 28 February 2015 against one or more of Christian Brothers. Now, the data showed that in Australia, 853 people have made either a claim or substantiated complaint of child sexual abuse against one or more Christian brother. 281 Christian brothers were subject to one or more claim or substantiated complaint of child sexual abuse. The gender of the people who made either a claim or substantiated complaint was 98% male. 75% of complainants were under the age of 13 years at the time of the alleged child sexual abuse. The total reported amount of compensation paid by the Christian Brothers in relation to claims against one or more Christian brother was $37.3 million, with an average payment per claim of $64,000. The data also showed that 45% of all people who made a claim or substantiated complaint of child sexual abuse against one or more Christian brother did so in relation to incidents alleged to have occurred in Victoria and or Tasmania. Of these claims and substantiated complaints, where the date was known, the decade with the highest number of alleged incidents was the 1970s. Now, the Christian Brothers operated or provided staff for 6 institutions in Ballarat and Warrnambool, which we'll refer to as the Ballarat Christian Brothers Schools. First was St Alipius Boys School in Ballarat East. Secondly, St Patrick's Primary School, Drummond Street, Ballarat. Thirdly, St Patrick's College, Ballarat. St Paul's Technical School, Ballarat. St Joseph's Primary School, Warrnambool. St Joseph's Christian Brothers College, Warrnambool. 6 brothers who taught at one or more of these institutions will be considered in this hearing. They are Brother C.C.K., Brother Stephen Farrell, Brother Edward Dowland, Brother Gerald Leo Fitzgerald, Brother B.W.X, and Brother C.C.J. Each of these brothers, apart from Brother B.W.X and Brother Fitzgerald, has been convicted of child sexual abuse offences. Brother Fitzgerald died in 1986. As is apparent, 3 of these brothers have been assigned pseudonyms. Now, the Royal Commission is required to deal with evidence in a way that does not prejudice current or future criminal proceedings. In 1973, the following brothers taught at St Alipius Boys School, which had classes from grade 3 to 6. Brother Fitzgerald taught grade 3, Brother Farrell taught grade 5, Brother C.C.K. taught grade 6. Father Gerald Ridsdale was the assistant priest in Ballarat East and the school chaplain. In 1976, St Alipius Boys School closed. In the first public hearing to Ballarat, the Royal Commission heard evidence from 10 men that they were sexually abused at St Alipius Boys School. The Royal Commission also heard evidence from 7 men that they were sexually abused at St Patrick's College in Ballarat. Most of those allegations referred to sexual abuse by Brother Dowland. The data produced to the Royal Commission revealed that 56 people have made a claim or substantiated complaint of child sexual abuse against one or more Christian brother in relation to a Ballarat Christian Brothers school. 16 of these people made allegations against more than one brother. Of the claims and substantiated complaints of child sexual abuse against one or more Christian brothers in relation to a Ballarat Christian Brothers school, 61% related to St Olympius and 34% related to St Patrick's College. Some of these claims included both schools. Of the 56 claims and substantiated complaints against one or more Christian brother in relation to these schools, 39% reported that the allegations also involved physical abuse. The gender of the people who made a claim or substantiated complaint was 100% male. The average age at the time of the alleged child sexual abuse was 10. 94% of claimants were under the age of 13 years when they were abused. 71% alleged the incidents to have occurred in the period from 1969 to 1974. The Christian brothers teaching in the city of Ballarat lived in a community at St Patrick's College. Brother Paul Nangle was the superior of the community in Ballarat from 1973 to 1979. He was headmaster of St Patrick's College from 1974 until 1979. Brother Nangle will give evidence. A number of former students of St Patrick's College and St Olympius Boys' School gave evidence in the first public hearing that students and some staff had an awareness of the risk of sexual abuse by brothers CCK, Fitzgerald and Dowland, and Father Ridsdale. Brother Nangle will be asked about complaints he received or rumours or allegations he became aware of as headmaster of St Patrick's College and superior of St Patrick's Christian Brothers community during the 70s. The Royal Commission will also hear evidence from Brother Brian Brandon. Brother Brandon was a member of the Provincial Council of St Patrick's Province from 1984 until 1996. He has been part of the professional standards management for the Christian Brothers from 1993 to date. Brother Brandon will give evidence about his knowledge of offending by Christian Brothers in St Patrick's Province and the discussions of child sexual abuse at provincial meetings from 1984 to 1996, when appointments of brothers were made. In relation to Brother CCK, the data showed that the highest number of claims or substantiated complaints against an individual brother that alleged incidents in Victoria and or Tasmania was 46, and these were made against Brother CCK. He joined the Christian Brothers Novitiate in 1960. He taught at a number of schools throughout Victoria and Tasmania, including St Olympius Boys' School from 1968 until 1973. From 1989, he taught at the Christian Brothers College in Warrnambool. He resigned from that school following police investigations in 1994. The claims against Brother CCK related to alleged incidents of abuse occurring between 1963 and 1987. The data showed that the first alleged incident, the subject of a claim against him, occurred only 2 years after he professed his initial vows. He was 22 years old. The average age of victims at the time of the abuse was 11 years of age. Of the 46 claims, 4 were civil claims. 3 claims resulted in paid compensation through a civil process with a total payment to the 3 claimants of $350,000 at an average of almost $117,000 per claimant. The data reported that 37 claims resulted in paid compensation through a redress process other than civil proceedings, with a total of $3.5 million at an average of almost $95,000 per claimant. There were no payments for costs recorded. These compensation amounts are the total amount paid in relation to claims involving Brother CCK, including claims which included multiple accused. Where there are multiple accused, it's not possible to apportion the compensation between each of them. Brother Stephen Farrell was first appointed as a Christian brother to Alypius Boys' School in Ballarat East. He left St Alypius towards the end of the school year in 1974, at which time he also left the Christian Brothers. In this public hearing, the Royal Commission is expected to hear evidence from a survivor, Mr CCD, about a complaint he made to Brother Nangle about Brother Farrell when Mr CCD was a student in Year 5 at St Alypius. The Royal Commission will receive into evidence a transcript of a private hearing held with now Mr Farrell in 2015. In that private hearing, Mr Farrell told the Royal Commission that Brother Nangle came to him and said he had had a complaint from Mr CCD. And with that, and I quote, "He just put his arms around me and gave me a long cuddle. No words were said. He then just walked out." And this was Brother Nangle's way of coping with this, helping me. Brother Farrell saw Catholic psychologist Ronald Conway in 1974 before he left the Christian Brothers. After leaving the Brothers, he taught at a parish school in Pascoe Vale. In 1997, he was convicted of 9 counts of indecent assault against 2 boys aged 9 and 10 at St Alypius. He was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, wholly suspended. In 2013, Mr Farrell was convicted of a further charge of indecent assault on a 10-year-old boy. That was Mr CCD at St Alypius Boys' School. He was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment, and on appeal, that sentence was wholly suspended. The data produced to the Royal Commission revealed that 6 people, all of whom were male, have made a claim of child sexual abuse against Mr Farrell, dealing with abuse occurring in the period from 1971 to 1974. The data also showed that the first alleged incident of child sexual abuse, the subject of a claim, occurred in the year he professed his initial vows, when he was 20 years old. Brother Gerald Leo Fitzgerald was first appointed as a Christian brother to East Melbourne in 1921. He held various appointments in the following years in Victoria, including in Ballarat. From 1943, Brother Fitzgerald was working as a probationary officer while living at St Vincent's Orphanage in South Melbourne. In 1950, the Australian provincial Brother Mackey wrote to Brother Fitzgerald, censoring him as strongly as possible for a number of matters, including continuing to have dealings with the boys in defiance of the command given by the brother consultors and allowing 1 or more boys to enter his room and kissing a boy. This was in 1950. Brother Fitzgerald was sent to Albert Park in 1951, but continued to work as a probation officer until 1962, when he was appointed a Grade 3 teacher at St Alypius Boys' School in Ballarat East. In 1968, he was joined by Brother CCK, who taught Grade 6 and was principal of the school. Brother Dowland taught at the school in 1971 and at St Patrick's College from 73 until 74. Brother Farrell commenced at the school in 73 and left at the end of 74. In 1975, Brother Fitzgerald was forced to retire from his teaching work at St Alypius, although he continued to live in St Patrick's community The 1976 visitation report for that community refers to Brother Fitzgerald and reads, and I quote, "His difficulties of last year may well have been caused by his having reached that stage of life when for some men control of emotional impulses becomes lessened. He should be watched against the possibility of future incidents, and if there are any indications of such, I would recommend that he be removed from Ballarat, where the boarding situation presents occasions not found elsewhere." And the visitation report of 1978 raises concerns about Brother Fitzgerald visiting the junior dormitory to play with boys, and notes that this caused some confusion, and the superior told the community that the brothers should not visit dormitories without permission. Brother Fitzgerald died in 1987. He was never charged. The data produced to the Royal Commission revealed that 15 people, all of whom were male, made a claim against Brother Fitzgerald, alleging incidents from 1950 to 1975. The average age of the victims at the time of the assault was 8 years of age. The data also showed that the first alleged incident of child sexual abuse, the subject of a claim against Brother Fitzgerald, occurred 30 years after he professed his initial vows when he was 48 years old. Brother Edward Dowland's first appointment was as the Grade 5 teacher at St Olympius Boys' School. In a 2004 email to Brother Brian Brandon, Brother Peter Dowling wrote that he had spoken to Brother CCK about allegations from a Mr CCA, who was then a boarder at St Patrick's College in Ballarat. Brother Dowling reported Brother CCK as saying that CCA's mother told him that Brother Dowling was taking pictures of her boys in the showers at Ballarat. Brother CCK did not know if that was true or not, but he did tell the superior, Brother Stewart, about her comments. In 1972, Brother Dowland moved to St Thomas More Boys Regional College at Nunawading. The next year he transferred to St Patrick's College in Ballarat. In the first public hearing, Paul Tatchell gave evidence that after he was raped by Brother Dowland in the dormitories at St Patrick's one night, he called his parents and then took Brother Dowland into the main area and started kicking the door. Brother Nangle came down and constrained him, and he was locked in a cupboard until the morning when his parents came to pick him up. In 1994, Mr Tatchell's mother made a police statement in which she stated that when she arrived at the school with her husband, she spoke to Brother Nangle, who then called Mr Tatchell to his office to speak with them. She stated, "Paul was distressed when he walked in, and I asked him what the trouble was, and he said that they were a heap of poofters and get me out of here." In this public hearing, Timothy Barlow, a former student at St Patrick's College, is expected to give evidence that in 1973 he was at a meeting of the Student Representative Council at St Patrick's, when the council moved that Brother Nangle tell Brother Dowland to stop putting his hands down kids' pants, or words to that effect. Mr Barlow is expected to give evidence that he was called into Brother Nangle's office and told to recant the allegation at the next school assembly about Brother Dowling touching boys. Another former student of St Patrick's College, Martinus Classen, is expected to give evidence that he was sexually abused by Brother Dowland when he was in Form 1 in 1974. He told his mother. He then attended a meeting with her and Brother Nangle at the college. he is expected to give evidence that he told Brother Nangle what had happened with Brother Dowland. He will say that Brother Nangle terminated the meeting and that he never heard anything else about that interview from Brother Nangle. In 1997, Brother Scott, the principal of another Christian Brothers school in Ballarat, told an investigator for Catholic Church Insurances that Brother Dowland attended a camp in 1973 or 1974 with Brother Scott and a group of boys. Brother Scott recalled there were rumours started by a student who attended the camp afterwards that Brother Dowland, quote, had played funny buggers while on the camp. Brother Scott never invited Brother Dowland on another camp. In an affidavit sworn in 2010, Mr. Holloway, a former teacher at St Patrick's College, stated that about two-thirds of the way through 1974, he received a telephone call from parents asking him to look into inappropriate behaviour by Brother Dowland against two boys in the junior school. He subsequently attended a meeting with Brother Nangle and Brother Dowland in which he said Brother Nangle asked Brother Dowland if he put his hands down the pants of the boys. Brother Dowland denied the allegations. Brother Dowland was then moved to Warrnambool in 1975, and the visitation report for that year recorded that Brother Dowland, quote, is immature, as shown by spending more time than the normal time with boys rather than with the brothers. Brother Dowland took his perpetual vows at the end of that year. The visitation report for the following year, recorded in relation to Brother Dowland, said, quote, while he may have been indiscreet, even wrong in one or two incidents, the visitor is not satisfied that he got adequate support and encouragement from the superior. The report then stated, in the visitor's view, the most serious single failure of the superior concerned an unfortunate matter which arose in his own Form 5 class during the second half of last year. Rumours were spread by some of the boys that there was an improper relationship between one of the brothers and one of the Form 5 students. It appears the student concerned suffered quite a lot of persecution. Now, the brother concerned is not named in this report. However, Brother Dowland was moved the following year to a school in Devonport in Tasmania. By 1985, after several other appointments, Brother Dowland was sub-superior of the East Melbourne community and was deputy headmaster of the Cathedral College. The visitation report of that year records, Ted is frequently absent at evenings and holidays and weekends. This, he believes, is in harmony with his apostolate to the boys. How well discerning he is, I would question. Tony is a relative of his and finds this a hindrance in speaking the truth to Ted in love. Tony remarked that Ted is overly affectionate in expression with his boys. Ted felt he was not imprudent in his expressions of affection when confronted with this remark. In a letter from Chanel College to the then provincial Brother Noonan, Brother Dowland wrote about his desire to love and be loved, and that the greatest aim in my life over a number of years has been to be a great lover. He also wrote, you mentioned, Paul, when we were speaking, that some people had mentioned to you that I was too affectionate. Perhaps this is true, but as far as I'm concerned, this is me, and I have this dream that love can be the motivating force within my classroom. I know now that if you are really concerned about this, and if this is the main reason why I'm being changed, then I know now that I can be a brother no more. In 1986, Brother Dowland was sent to undertake a year of study. The following year he was sent to St Mary's in Geelong. The 1988 visitation report of St Mary's records that Brother Dowland had found his counselling very helpful. That report also records that the principal, Brother John Halloran, was told that a Year 7 counselling very helpful. That report also records that the principal, Brother John Halloran, was told that a Year 7 boy from St Augustine Halloran is recorded as being convinced that there could be no substance in the allegation. The brother undertaking the visitation did not raise the matter at all with Brother Dowland. The following year, Brother Dowland was appointed principal of St Vincent's Special School. He resigned from that position in September 1990, and a handwritten note on his list of appointments reads, "After being assaulted by a boy, I was told I would have to go to court to answer questions about overstepping my bounds as a headmaster. This was the last straw." In a letter dated 1996, after Brother Dowland had been convicted, a former Deputy Director of St Vincent's wrote to the Provincial voicing his dismay and anger. He wrote, "As you are probably aware, many of St Vincent's residents have been sexually abused, and at St Vincent's was getting these boys to a point where they would expect not to be abused. Now I find that all of this work could have been compromised by the presence of a man like Brother Dowland." Between 1991 and 1993, Brother Dowland taught at the Catholic Regional College in Geelong. In a 2001 letter to the Christian Brothers in Rome, Brother Michael Godfrey wrote, "The province leadership team developed real concerns about Ted's lifestyle in 1993, when there was growing innuendo and rumours about his behaviour coming to the surface. Brother Dowland was interviewed by Victoria Police in August 1993. In 1996, he was convicted of 16 counts of indecent assault against 11 boys at 4 different Christian Brothers schools. He was sentenced to 9 years and 8 months imprisonment with a 6-year non-parole period. On appeal, this sentence was reduced to 6 years and 6 months with a 4-year non-parole period. Last year, Brother Dowland was convicted of a further 33 counts of indecent assault and 1 count of gross indecency against 20 boys. He was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment with a 3-year non-parole period. The data produced to the Royal Commission showed that 28 people, all of whom were male, have made a claim of child sexual abuse against now Mr Dowland, alleging incidents between 1969 to 1984. The data also showed that the average age of his victims was 11 years. The first alleged incident of child sexual abuse, the subject of a claim against Dowland, occurred the same year that he professed his initial vows, when he was 31 years old. Brother BWX entered the juniorate of the Christian Brothers in 1953. His first appointment was in Perth in 1958. A letter to the Christian Brothers in August 1960 records that the then Auxiliary Bishop of Perth received a complaint about Brother BWX, who was subsequently interviewed and admitted to ordering at least 7 boys to undress in the brother's house, where he spoke to them of the function of genital organs, including touching the organs during the process. The letter records that the bishop will leave any action to the Christian brothers and recommends that the brother be removed immediately. It also notes that a transfer during the term break would not be so noticeable and would more easily smooth out embarrassment. In August 1960, Brother BWX was moved to Brunswick in St Patrick's Province. In 1963, he was appointed to St Joseph's Christian Brothers College in Warrnambool in the Diocese of Ballarat. In 2003, a former student of St Joseph's, Mr BWU, told Towards Healing that in 1964 he attended a retreat with Father Madden, who read out a note that Brother BWX was molesting children or interfering with children. Brother BWU stated that Father Madden said, "Is this right? Does anyone know about this?" And about half a dozen hands went up in the room. Father Madden is expected to give evidence by way of a statement that he was not present at any retreat when any such subject came up. However, he is expected to give evidence via a statement that when he was chaplain to the Christian Brothers College in Warrnambool between 1964 and 1968, he overheard a group of 13 or 14-year-old students saying, "Be careful if BWX offers to give you a massage." Father Madden passed this on to the principal, Brother Williams, and had the impression Brother Williams understood what he meant. In an interview with Towards Healing Assessors in 2003, Brother BWX stated that in 1966, the principal of St Joseph's, Brother Williams, spoke to him about hugging some members of the choir and warned him that he should not go one-to-one with boys or touch their genitals. In 1967, Brother BWX was moved to North Melbourne. After 2 more appointments, he was sent to St Patrick's College in Ballarat in 1971. Father Madden is expected to give evidence by statement that some years after Warrnambool, he became aware that Brother BWX was teaching at St Patrick's College in Ballarat. He spoke to the chaplain at St Patrick's but does not know whether the chaplain passed on to anyone what he said. The July 1973 visitation report for Ballarat records that nearly all the brothers taking charge of dormitories were fresh to the task. It turned out too that a big percentage of these either had psychological problems or lacked the dedication. It records that this problem particularly centred on Brother BWX, who was, quote, psychologically unfit for the job. That report also records that Brother BWX was transferred a week before the visitation commenced, and that this change was necessitated because of the revelation of a serious act of indiscretion, even misconduct, of which he was guilty with respect to 2 of the senior boys separately. The report continues, "A close watch will have to be kept on him in the future, for he has now at least twice offended in his conduct with boys." It noted that he would resume almost immediately consultation with Catholic psychiatrist Dr. Eric Seal. Brother BWX was transferred to St Kevin's College in Toorak as sportsmaster. In 1996, Mr BWW, a former student at St Kevin's, informed the Christian brothers that he had been indecently assaulted by Brother BWX when he was 16 years old, that is in the late 1970s. He stated that in 1981 he went to Tracy College to make a formal complaint and spoke to the head of the brothers. Mr. BWW also referred to a telephone conversation he had earlier in 1996 with the then provincial Brother Godfrey and wrote, and I quote, "You informed me that you had spoken to Brother Norton, who was the provincial at the time. You said that Brother Norton had a memory of someone coming to speak to him about Brother BWX, but cannot now remember that person's name. Brother Norton said he made some record of the visit at the time, spoke to Brother BWX, who vigorously denied the allegations. Brother Norton directed Brother BWX to see a psychiatrist or psychologist or counsellor, who subsequently recommended that Brother BWX not be removed from the school's ministry. When Brother Norton finished his term as provincial, he destroyed such records as he had made regarding the matter because they were personal records. He says, however, that he passed on a verbal report to his successor. Brother Norton also said there had been other verbal allegations against Brother BWX, but nothing in writing. In January 1994, Brother BWX was sent to the United States for treatment. In 1998, he signed a continuing care contract with the Christian Brothers, which included the provision, "I will abstain from all sexual relationships with teenagers and married women and with others." In 2004, Brother BWX was granted 3 years away from the Christian Brothers. He was readmitted to full membership of the congregation in 2006. The data produced to the Royal Commission showed that 2 people have made a claim against Brother BWX, alleging incidents of child sexual abuse during the period 1961 to 1976. The data also showed that the first alleged incident of child sexual abuse, the subject of a claim against him, occurred 4 years after he professed his initial vows, when he was 22 years of age. Brother CCJ entered the Christian Brothers Juniorate in 1966. He taught at various schools in Victoria from 1971, and in 1973 he commenced at the Christian Brothers Trinity College in Brunswick. The principal of that school was Brother Len Francis. The 1973 visitation report from Brunswick records that Brother CCJ found the first term very difficult and continued, "During this unsettled period, there was an indiscretion with the boy of which he realises the seriousness, and it would seem that a repetition is unlikely. Brother CCJ is now better in his attitude. He has good influence with his pupils." An undated note written by Brother Francis from Trinity College states that Brother CCJ had, on 2 or 3 occasions earlier in the year, been very unwise in speaking freely of sex and asked too personal questions of boys, and was too familiar in his touching of the boys. He seems to have avoided such action since. In 1974, Brother CCJ took his perpetual vows with the Christian Brothers. From 1977, Brother CCJ taught at Cathedral College in East Melbourne. The visitation reports of 1978 and 1979 record that Brother CCJ was the organiser of the sexuality program at the school. The 1979 report states that he organises a progressive course in sex education from Forms 1 to 4. The June 1981 visitation report records that Brother CCJ spends a considerable amount of time counselling the boys. In 1982, Brother CCJ was transferred to St Patrick's College in Ballarat, where he remained until 1987, when he was sent to St Joseph's Community in Geelong. Brother CCJ was superior of this community from 1987 until 1988 when he resigned. During this period, Brother CCK was the sub-superior of the same community. In 1989, Brother CCJ attended a dependent treatment program at Hollyoake in Western Australia for alcohol and other drug users. From September 89, he taught at Keaney College in Bindoon in Western Australia. And in 1990, the St Patrick's Province sent a personnel sheet for Brother CCJ to the Western Australian Christian Brothers authorities. It's unclear whether those authorities were informed of the earlier complaints and concerns about Brother CCJ. In July 1994, Brother Laurie Negus, a teaching brother at Keaney College, Bindoon, rang the Western Australian Provincial to report that Brother CCJ had used unsuitable and abusive language to some students, including terms such as slimy and arsehole. The end of July 94, Brother Laurie Negus, a teaching brother at Keaney College, Bindoon, wrote a confidential report about Brother CCJ. It set out a series of concerns dating from January 1993, including an incident in May 1993 when Brother Negus discussed with Brother CCJ that involved grabbing the testicle in a grip. He wrote that Brother CCJ acknowledged he may have been very stupid, but there was no sexual intention. Brother Negus was satisfied this was the case and warned him not to allow any compromising situations to occur again. Another incident related to graffiti written by a 10-year-old boy, which, quote, very much implied that Brother CCJ interfered with boys. That boy was subsequently asked to move on, and Brother Negus had the graffiti painted over and didn't tell Brother CCJ about it. Brother CCJ was subsequently asked to resign from Keaney College due to a conflict with Brother Negus. He then spent some time studying art therapy, including in the States. In August 1997, Brother Shanahan, the then Western Australian Provincial, agreed to approach 3 provincial schools as well as Bindoon to see whether they were interested in Brother CCJ's services on a part-time basis to supplement their work in pastoral care, counselling and special education. From 1998, Brother CCJ resumed a full-time ministry, undertaking art therapy at several schools in Western Australia. In September 2000, the Christian Brothers received a complaint by a former student who was in Brother CCJ's class in 1972. The student outlined a number of incidents and stated that in his opinion, Brother CCJ should not be permitted to have contact with children. The Western Australian provincial authorities were informed and the allegations were discussed with Brother CCJ. He is recorded as saying that what he had done in sex education at the time had been over-familiar and invasive. He agreed to undergo an assessment with Encompass, although he continued teaching. He attended Encompass in 2001, and then 2002 he was interviewed by police, and in 2005 pleaded guilty to 10 charges of indecent assault against students at Trinity College in Brunswick in the 1970s. The data produced to the Royal Commission showed that 17 people made a claim of child sexual abuse against Brother CCJ, alleging incidents occurring in the period 71 to 83. The gender of the people making a claim was 94% male, and the average age of the male victims was 11 years. The first alleged incident occurred 2 years after Brother CCJ had professed his initial vows when he was 22 years of age. Now, in the first Ballarat hearing, the Royal Commission heard evidence from Gerald Ridsdale, a about the treatment he received in 1975 from Father Peter Evans, a priest psychiatrist in Melbourne, after a complaint was made to Bishop Mulcairns about his conduct in Inglewood. Dr. Peter Evans, as he now is expected to give evidence that he had 3 or 4 sessions with Gerald Ridsdale in 1975. He is expected to say that he did not speak with Bishop Mulcairns before, during or after these sessions. Ridsdale, he says, denied the allegation that the police were investigating in Inglewood, that is, that he had abused one or more children in Inglewood, and gave no history of previous complaints of sexual abuse. Dr. Evans is expected to give evidence that he made no judgment on whether Ridsdale was guilty. He simply treated him by allaying his anxiety pending the outcome of police investigations. He is expected to give evidence that the realisation that no charges would be laid against him caused a marked relief in Ridsdale's anxiety symptoms. Dr. Evans is expected to give evidence that he did not give anyone an opinion on Ridsdale's suitability for ministry after these sessions, and nor was there any request that he do so. The Royal Commission will also hear evidence from Dan Torpey, a former priest in the diocese. Mr. Torpey was an assistant priest in Mildura when Monsignor John Day resigned as parish priest. In the second Ballarat hearing, the Royal Commission heard evidence about the circumstances surrounding Monsignor Day's resignation and the complaints made to Bishop Mulcairns about Monsignor Day's sexual abuse of children in Mildura. Mr. Torpey was a member of the Ballarat Diocesan College of Consultors from 1977 until 1979, when he went to Rome to study psychology. He returned to the diocese in 1983, and the Royal Commission has heard evidence from a number of priests who were members of the consultors about the matters discussed at those meetings. Mr. Torpey will be asked about his knowledge of complaints or rumours of sexual abuse of children by clergy in the Diocese of Ballarat. He will also be asked about the treatment he provided or the advice he gave to Bishop Mulcairns concerning the appointment of priests against whom complaints had been made, including Father Paul David Ryan, Father BPB, and Father Leslie Sheehan. As indicated earlier, the Commission will hear evidence from Bishop Emeritus Ronald Mulcairns this week. He was the coadjutor bishop of Ballarat from 68 to 71 when he became Bishop of Ballarat after Bishop O'Collins retired. Bishop Mulcairns retired in 1997. He had, during the period he was bishop, ultimate responsibility for the diocese. The Royal Commission has received evidence about Bishop Mulcairns' knowledge of complaints and allegations of child sexual abuse against priests within the diocese, including from Gerald Ridsdale and about Gerald Ridsdale. In July 2015, the Royal Commission summonsed Bishop Mulcairns to appear and give evidence. In the second Ballarat hearing in December, a medical advice was received and accepted that Bishop Mulcairns was receiving palliative care and was unfit to give evidence in December. He remains subject to a summons. On 5 February this year, the Royal Commission held a directions hearing to consider Bishop Mulcairns' capacity to give evidence. Medical reports were tendered and his state of health was the subject of those reports, and it was submitted by his counsel that while the bishop was prepared to give evidence, his evidence should be given remotely from his nursing home. Having regard to the medical reports concerning Bishop Mulcairns' general health and cognitive difficulties, the Royal Commission will hear his evidence by video link from his nursing home later this week. Now, in relation to the Archdiocese of Melbourne, a public hearing was held in November last year, and that considered the response of authorities associated with the Catholic Archdiocese Melbourne in relation to allegations against clergy associated with the Holy Family Parish and the Holy Family Parish Primary School in Doveton. This primarily involved an examination of the response of the Archdiocese and the Catholic Education Office to complaints about the conduct of Father Peter Searson, the parish priest at Doveton. The public hearing also considered the response of the Archdiocese to allegations of child sexual abuse against another 5 priests holding appointments within the Archdiocese. Nazareno Fashale, Ronald Pickering, Wilfred Baker, David Daniel and Desmond Gannon. The Royal Commission heard evidence from a number of survivors of sexual abuse by these priests and also from former and current teachers and others who raised concerns or made complaints about the priests. The Royal Commission also heard evidence from the current Archbishop of Melbourne, Archbishop Hart, and from former Vicars General and Auxiliary Bishops, Bishop Emeritus Peter Connors and Bishop Emeritus Hilton Deacon. Case Study 35 was adjourned on 4 December 2015 until the evidence of Cardinal Pell was heard. Now, as was clear from that hearing and the ruling made by Your Honour recently, Cardinal Pell was ordained a priest in the Diocese of Ballarat in 1966, and for part of the time he was a priest, he was also one of the consultors to Bishop Mulcairns. And in that role he had responsibilities together with other consultors to give advice to the bishop on various matters, including appointments of parish priests to particular parishes. Cardinal Pell was a consultor at a time when some of the priests who have offended against children were serving in the diocese. In 1987, Cardinal Pell was appointed as auxiliary bishop in the Archdiocese of Melbourne. Archbishop Little was the archbishop at the time. In 1996, Cardinal Pell became Archbishop of Melbourne. The response of the Archdiocese of Melbourne to complaints and allegations of child sexual abuse during the period which included Cardinal Pell's time as an auxiliary bishop is being considered in Case Study 35. Cardinal Pell had responsibilities as an auxiliary bishop for areas of the Archdiocese where at least one offending priest was located. As an auxiliary bishop, he was a member of the Archbishop's Personnel Advisory Board and a member of the Curia. Both bodies assisted the Archbishop on matters including the placement of priests. Cardinal Pell is currently the Prefect of the Secretariat for the Economy for the Holy See. He resides outside of Australia and beyond the Royal Commission's jurisdiction. Now, the Royal Commission does not have the power to compel Cardinal Pell to appear before it. In May 2015, Cardinal Pell wrote to Your Honour saying that he was willing, as he had always been, to give evidence should the Commission request it by means of a statement, video link or attendance in person. The Royal Commission accepted Cardinal Pell's offer to attend in person and give evidence in the second part of the public hearing into Ballarat and the public hearing relating to the Archdiocese. In the December hearing at the request of Cardinal Pell, the Royal Commission recalled Mr David Ridsdale and Mr Timothy Green. Both Mr Ridsdale and Mr Green had previously given evidence relating to Cardinal Pell at the first Ballarat hearing. On 11 December last year, Counsel for Cardinal Pell indicated that because of his present health, he had been advised that he should not take long international flights. For that reason, the Cardinal sought to have his evidence given by video link. The Commissioners did not accede to that application, and in the hope that the Cardinal's health might improve, deferred the issue until February this year. On 5 February, a directions hearing was held to consider whether the Cardinal's health had sufficiently improved to allow travel to Australia. Cardinal Pell's counsel renewed the application that Cardinal Pell give evidence by video link from Rome and tendered medical advice in support of the application. The Royal Commission decided that although it was preferable for the Cardinal to give evidence in Australia, it was satisfied that he could give evidence by video link having regard to the medical advice. Cardinal Pell will give evidence during the week following the conclusion of this hearing, and the Royal Commission will sit in Sydney for this purpose, and Cardinal Pell will give his evidence by video link from Rome. Sitting times must, of course, differ from the Royal Commission's usual sitting times, and taking into account the time difference with Rome and the preference indicated by Cardinal Pell, the hearing will commence at 8 a.m. Sydney time on 29 February 2016 and more than likely conclude at midday. 3 or 4 sitting days are expected to be necessary for that evidence. Cardinal Pell will be asked about matters relating to his time as an auxiliary bishop in the Archdiocese of Melbourne, as well as his time as a priest and consultant in the Diocese of Ballarat. There are a number of witnesses to give evidence this week, Your Honours, and I suspect that there's been a witness list published. There will be a witness list published shortly.
Very well. Would you like us to adjourn briefly and we can rearrange the room and
proceed
from there? Yes, we'll take a brief adjournment.